Welcome to the first episode of Politi-quickie. Today we will discuss the recent Iranian Uprising as quickly as possible. So what are the Iranian protests? These were a series of spontaneous demonstrations by the common Iranians that broke out towards the end of December, originating from the eastern Iranian city of Mashhad. These protests quickly spread to the rest of the country, manifesting itself as a major uprising now commonly known as the Iranian Uprising of 2017. So who are these protests against and who are the protesters? So the first question is an easy one. The protests are against Iran's President Hassan Rouhani and the supreme religious leader Ayatollah Khamenei. But as far as the protesters go, it is pretty difficult to establish who they are since they have come to the streets with various complaints against the establishment. So why? There were many reasons the protesters gave for their discontent: unemployment, uncertainty in the economy, bad budget that allocated funding to the mullahs, Iran's support of Shia terrorism in the form of Hezbollah, the activities of controversial IRGC, the Revolutionary Guard, and in many cases just the presence of Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei in their democracy. How? Some of the protesters have just come out to the streets to gather while shouting slogans, while others have engaged in rioting and violence. The movement is difficult to pin down under a particular category or agenda precisely due to this reason. One distinct feature of the protests, however, has been the viciously anti-religious slogans, which is pretty rare in Iran. So to give you a quick summary, the uprising has been seen as a culmination of suppressed anger from the Iranians on various issues. The My Stealthy Freedom movement, for example, has been going on for years, encouraging women to take off the hijab or the headscarf that covers their hair and post a picture of it on Facebook. In fact, the Iranian woman who removed her hijab and waved it like a flag almost became the face of the protest. On the other hand, there were pretty violent calls for death to President Hassan Rouhani and Ayatollah Khamenei himself. So, to establish a bit of background, protests are not exactly new to Iran. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 overthrew the Shah, who was in control, and gave power to Ayatollah Khamenei, who was in power till 1989, before Khamenei took over. Even as recent as 2009, Iran saw protests that were brutally struck down by the government. But what sets this protest apart is that it is leaderless and faceless. The current President Hassan Rouhani came to power for the second term now in 2017. He edged out his closest competition after a rigorous campaign promising tons of reforms in 100 days. His first victory in 2013 was against Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, who is seen as a hard right leader. Rouhani, in comparison, is often positioned as a reformer in Iran. But he has failed to keep even the slightest of the promises, like giving the people a female minister. The protests were largely ignored by the world media except Al Jazeera and Fox News, but it quickly gained more attention as soon as President Donald Trump tweeted in full support of the protesters. With Trump in picture, the entire media against him took offense to his support and accused him of destabilizing Iran. The problem was, most of the pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel and anti-American journalists couldn't exactly go against Iran, since that might bring up the question of Hezbollah and also bring up uncomfortable topics like women's rights and fundamental Shia Islam, which most of them have been denying for years. In Iran itself, the pro-government Iranians took to the streets to organize rallies of their own to show their solidarity with the Rouhani government. Finally, coming to India, the media has almost entirely brushed this off as most Indians do not care about it. But even media outlets that usually take a side in politics maintain silence since there was no political opportunity to cash in on this. The Indian National Congress has been pro-Middle East through and through, so they couldn't voice any opinion. The ruling BJP has been trying to work with the Iranian government on the Chabahar port to reach Afghanistan without engaging Pakistan. Since Rouhani was instrumental in that agreement coming through, the Modi government has been tight-lipped about it. So far, 24 people have lost their lives, including one policeman, and an estimated 3,700 people have been arrested. 6 of them have been rumored to have died in custody. The protests have now largely died out. The supporters of the protests have been arguing that the Iranian government is just waiting for the world media to look away so that they can deal with the prisoners. But voices from all over the world are requesting Iran to be lenient on those arrested and to pay heed to their demands. I hope I was able to adequately summarize the Iranian uprising. If you thought so, please do share this video with your friends. Thank you for listening in, and Jai Hind.